Hello again, everybody. Welcome back to a new season of You Bet CaneSport with Lee Sterling, which what will be our weekly look at how the Miami Hurricanes shape up in the betting world, and we'll bring you inside some other of the better games in college football along the way as well. I'm Gary Ferman, the publisher of CaneSport.com. He's Lee Sterling himself from Paramount Sports, and another year, Lee. The Hard Rock in South Florida hasn't gotten their sports betting operation going just yet. That could be coming down the road. But for you, I'm sure it's an exciting time to get everybody rocking and rolling again with football season, which obviously is the greatest passion of most of your sports bettors out there.
I would agree with that. And I'm tired of watching women's soccer and even Messi. I mean, it's exciting he came to Miami, but watching a full soccer game is painful. So I played it in high school, but there was a reason I didn't pursue it after that.
People actually are betting on Messi, huh? Did they take an action on how many goals he might score in games and things like that?
No, they have lines on these games. So, it's going to be nice when they do finally get legalized gambling in Florida. What's crazy is I think it's legal in almost 30 states, 30 to 50 states. Three biggest states, Florida, California, and Texas, still a no-go. But I think we're about 2-3 years away. And when it happens, it's going to be great.
All right, so let's talk a little bit about the Miami Hurricanes. I don't know if everybody watching knows this, but I know this. You spend an enormous amount of time in the months leading up to football season reviewing. I mean, I don't know if you do every single team in the country, but you do a good majority of them because you have to be able to give people picks on just these nondescript games that might be great betting opportunities. I mean, that's your bread and butter. But you emerge from the lab at this time of year with an incredible amount of knowledge, not just about the Miami Hurricanes, which is obviously a team that you're passionate about, but the bulk of the college football teams in the country. So let's start with the grand landscape, and then we'll dive into the Hurricanes. When you looked at the college football landscape here during the offseason, what did you walk away from as we get into the nitty-gritty here at the start of a new season?
Okay, so here's what I do. Every team, college and the NFL, for instance, let's take college, because we're going to talk college, 98% of the time here. I will watch 3 games from last year in their spring game, every team. Now, I got hold of 113 of 133 Division I spring games. So I think I got a pretty good feel on the type of offenses they run. There's some games you're like, they're not going to show anything. You're not going to see anything. But there are others, with new coaches, new coordinators, new starting quarterbacks where, you can see some stuff. So I want to see 3 games also from last year. I want to see a game where they won, everything went great. Game they lost, maybe their worst loss of the year. I want to see their weaknesses. And then I want to see a conference game that was won or decided but by, even if they lost it by 7 points. I want to see the coach or the coordinator in that situation, what he called his best play calls, when it counted, or if the game even went to overtime. So that way I can get a better feel of the team and also their personnel. So that's what I do. I'm looking at stats and trends. I'm updating my database from the year before. So it starts soon as the March Madness is over. The next day I head right into football mode. And it's a little tougher years past because of the transfer portal. I mean, probably every team has an average of 3 to 5 starters that will come in that weren't even on the team from last year. Maybe they came over in the spring. So more uncertainty. Used to be I could get – there was some – back in the day, almost no transfers were taking place. You could spot, let's say, a backup quarterback. A team lost a quarterback, new quarterback coming in. You're like, this team's going to be weak and no one has any idea. There's like 30, 35 different new quarterbacks coming in this year from other schools. So the quarterback situation, because a kid doesn't want to sit and they're not patient, is better in each school. But some of these schools, like the MAC, not specifically Miami of Ohio as much, but a lot of these schools in the MAC and the lower level schools, any talent that's there, 80-90% of their superstars, they leave.
Yeah.
Take Carson, I think his name's Carson, running back for Ball State. Really good running back, maybe the best player in the conference. He's at UCLA now. So a kid's not going to want to stay at UMass or Ohio University when he can transfer and go to, let's say Clemson and start in playing some big time games.
Yeah. So you just described a 4-month process of basically every day diving into football games. And I don't know how you do it, quite frankly. I mean, I love football. That's a lot of football to digest.
I took off 10 days. I had my 30th anniversary. So
there you go.
I did go to Europe and didn't take any material at all. I took off 10 days. The most I've probably ever taken off in the middle of the summer. But as soon as I got back, I dived into it. I'll watch a couple tapes in the morning, couple in the evening. And it's not like I'm doing it for 6 or 8 hours. So not like I'm cramming for a final, but I enjoy it.
Well, good for you that you got those 10 days off. But what did you walk away from? Everyone's always picking Georgia to win the national title, and Alabama, Ohio State. Those are easy picks for people that can go into a sports book and make their play. Whatever. But what did you walk away from? Who impressed you during that process?
So I'm everyone knows the best teams. I mean, like I said, there's no secrets out there. Used to be some other teams, back in the day. You're looking for teams, like the TCUs. That's what you're looking for. You're looking for some teams maybe that can ascend and 1 or 2 players can make difference. A couple of teams I like. Iowa, they got the kid McNamara from Michigan. Their offense was one of the worst college football last year. I think they averaged like 17 points per game, second to last in the country. Get a quarterback that's all of a sudden competent, and head coach's son's the offensive coordinator. If they don't start doing something, he's going to have to let him go. So I think Iowa, always a really good team as far as defense and special teams. They're a team that impressed me. A couple other teams that I liked that might be under the radar, I would say Kentucky. I like Kentucky a lot. They only lost 1 starter on quarterback, and that was it, the quarterback. Everyone else returns on their offense.
Wow.
Think that they had a couple young receivers who might ascend this year. They get Leary, the quarterback from NC State. So Kentucky's a team I think that's going to be really good and going to be a tough out. Are they going to beat Alabama or be a top 10 team? Maybe not, but they could be a top 15 team and no one's talking about them. And then only other teams I thought that maybe in the top 10, I think Notre Dame. I liked them even before the first game. They had no quarterbacks for the last decade, and all of a sudden you get Hartman from another school, ACC school. Wake Forest is going to be hurt by his loss. He is really good. You watch him. He puts the ball right there. So some people were saying, he was playing in like a wonky, like a funky kind of offense there where they, he used to ride the ball into the fullback and hold it there and wait and see and read it, whether he was going to hand the ball off or throw the ball. But I think Sam Hartman's going to be really good. And then I also, maybe the last time, I think Texas. They're always saying every year Texas is back, but they recruit such talent there.
Yeah, they believe they're back.
Coaching, they stay healthy. They should be good.
All right, so let's dive into the nitty gritty. The Miami Hurricanes, Lee, coming off a 5-7 season. Last year was a bear for everybody, including Lee Sterling. It was really hard to imagine that they were going to lose all those games. Hopefully, they
not just lose the games. It was how they lost. They were uncompetitive. I mean, if you lose close games, you're like, okay, you're building towards something. I think what happened was the Texas A&M game, they should have won. And with all those red zone chances and missed field goals, blocked field goals, And so I think that set people up to think, wow, they are right there. We can't believe it in 1 year. And then
It
it
just
was
all
a
fell
disaster.
apart.
Just
Yeah.
totally fell apart as a team. So that's what was disheartening. But
Well,
I
hopefully it
think
didn't. Hopefully it didn't put too big of a dent in your personal pocketbook. And now we come
no,
back. We come back for a new battle here this
yeah,
season. And to me, it's a team that we have no clue, quite
right.
frankly. I mean, we really have no clue how good this team's going to be. They've turned over almost half the roster, 40
Mhm.
new faces. Uncanny. I mean, I know Colorado's got like 60 or whatever, but
Right.
this is just not normally. You don't change 40 players in
Right.
between seasons in college football. But maybe I think it's been a good thing for Miami because they needed to improve the roster. I believe they have. I think they're bigger. I think they're
Mhm.
faster. I think they're better. You have studied them very hard. Your thoughts on where Miami is going into the season?
So I even went out to a couple of their practices and one of the scrimmages where I think they had like 14 out of the 18 periods they scrimmaged. So I got to see a lot there. A few guys didn't play that day, but they are bigger, faster, stronger. I like the speed and the tempo that they practice. If TBD gets hurt again, they're in trouble, obviously. The difference between he and the other two quarterbacks, Brown, who not much of a passer, and Williams isn't quite ready yet for this level, but who might end up being pretty good. You got to have a quarterback. But I think they are going to play four running backs to start off with. We could see 8, 9 receivers in there.
Yeah.
We know who the top 2 receivers are, but I'm telling you, they got 4 running backs that can play. And I think they're going to just go with the hot guy, and it's going to be a feeling out process. The line's better. I mean, Lee, you watch Lee and Cohen takes them to another level, and then the young guys at tackle are going to improve. Tight ends kind of like a wait and see. Maybe Arroyo can do something in passing situations. They should be better in the red zone, I think, in the new offense. Defensive lines deeper. The linebacking position, which was awful 2 years ago, was slightly better last year. They should be much better this year. Maluga, I think he's going to be fabulous in the middle. The biggest point of concern is cornerback. We have a lot of pretty good guys that if they were on other teams would be maybe 2s, would be 3s, would be the slot guy or backups. And they could get better as the season goes on, but I think that's where teams are going to attack Miami, and I think the special teams will be good. So I think the new punter's fine. Borgalis is steady as always, and I like the new coaching staff, new coaches that they brought on. So I think I always said it's going to be a 3-year process. I think what's going to happen is we're going to start maybe a little slower than last year. I think everyone expected more. After watching the first game, we kind of saw some clues that things weren't right, but maybe we overlooked them. But I think it's a team that's going to build this year and get better as the season progresses. It comes down, in my opinion, maybe the excitement to one game. They got to find a way to beat Texas A&M. If they do, they're going to have big crowds. People are going to be excited. If they lose a game here or there along the way, to teams like North Carolina, Clemson, or Florida State, it's understandable. They got to find a way to beat A&M.
Yeah, I agree with you. This team, and you can look back several seasons. I think back to the year when they played LSU in Dallas to start the season, and they were built up over the offseason to believe, hey, we are going to be better this year. And then they ended up losing that game and realized, well, maybe we're not better. And I think that had a carryover effect to the rest of the season. Last year's Texas A&M game, I thought, was another example of that. They had a very physical, very hard-fought game with an SEC team on the road, and they could have won the game. They just didn't make the plays they needed to make to win it. But I felt like they came back to South Florida with shattered confidence, and which I thought had a lingering effect over the rest of the season. Well, they've had a similar offseason. They've had 40 new faces, brought in new coordinators, have worked very hard. And you know that team is sitting there in Coral Gables feeling like they are going to be better this year. And it's imperatively that they get off to a good start. So that brings me to the Battle of Miami's at Hard Rock Stadium on Friday night. You got the Miami Hurricanes, 17-point favorites over the Miami of Ohio Redhawks, I guess their nickname is. Break this game down for us, Lee, from the bettor's perspective.
Love to see TVD at 100%. He's obviously not 100%. But as I mentioned, I think we're going to see 4 running backs. I saw 4 in the scrimmage I was at, and they all look good. I think we're going to see 8, 9 receivers. The guy, Restrepo, is unguardable. I mean, he's that good, that dependable also. Colby Young, I think, is the guy. He's the X factor this year. If he played like he played the night when I went to the scrimmage, I think he's going to be fabulous. I think he's going to be an NFL receiver. He's not a speed demon, but he's fast enough, and I think he's going to be really good going up in one-on-one situations in the red zone. They got to use him and Restrepo. Those have to be their guys other than running the football. So I'm looking at the matchup here, and the matchup here is, I think, to run the football. The defensive line, a little small for Miami of Ohio. They got a 290-pound defensive tackle, but their other defensive tackles, 265. Defensive ends are 246. You got to manhandle teams like that. And if they can't, that's going to tell me something. If they do, we're on the right track. And they couldn't do it last year. So I do think the line's going to be better. Miami of Ohio's defense, very aggressive. They try to strip the ball. They'll take chances. And they tell their defensive backs, go for it. And they were plus 11 in turnovers. I don't think they're going to be that high on turnovers this year. They returned 16 starters overall, including their quarterback, Gabbert, who's decent. Their problem is receiver. Their best 2 receivers might be transfers coming in from Louisiana Monroe and a kid from Notre Dame that really didn't even play. Tells you how bad they are and how weak they are at that position. But Miami of Ohio has not been great as a road dog, 6-10 over the last 4 years. But I think Miami's going to start slow. And I don't think they're going to show much. I think they're going to play a lot of players here. I think they win 31-20. I think 17's a tad too high.
Interesting. So you're taking Miami of Ohio and the points on opening night at Hard Rock Stadium. All right, let's take a look at a couple of the other key games in college football. You got LSU, a 2.5-point favorite over Florida State. I know which side of the equation Miami fans would like to line up in that game. Would just love to see those Noles take a beating on opening night. The first thing I'll ask you, and then you can tell me what you think of this game, is Florida State an overhyped football team?
I think both teams might be a little tad overhyped. I don't think both teams talent-wise are top 10 teams, maybe 12 to 15, 12 to 16. Now, both teams hit the transfer portal really hard. Florida State surprisingly lost some kids in the transfer portal, which, you get that happens when you have success. But Jaden Daniels, I think, is a little bit better than Jordan Travis. Jordan Travis is good. But there was a couple games where Jaden Daniels, he had like 7, 8, 9 passes in a row. When he gets on a roll, he is tough to stop. So I think his upside is a little bit more than Travis here. They are playing with revenge. They lost 24-23 last year. In that game, Brian Kelly, his first game as a coach, I felt that he got out-coached. He didn't really know what he had. I thought he made some poor in-game decisions here. And also, if you look at Florida State, they were the hunter last year. This year, they're going to be hunted. They were 10-2 against the spread last year. They got to play 5 backup quarterbacks. Not going to have that happen too many years. So I think Florida State's up there. They're just behind Clemson as far as talent. But I think LSU has been prepping for this game here. They'll be down one of their defensive tackles here. But I like some of the matchups here. The receivers against the DBs for Florida State. I think they won't have the gap. Like I think they had that extra point blocked at the end of the game. I doubt that happens again here. I like the over the best. I'm going to play 2 plays here. I'm going to play over 56 total points, and I also like LSU to win cover 34-30.
All right, so LSU laying the 2.5 against Florida State. And then North Carolina is a team that Miami fans have great interest in. They start their season against South Carolina. They're 2.5-point favorites. The Battle of the Carolinas, Lee. What's going to happen there?
So normally you look at an SEC team, better in the trenches. But this South Carolina team, only 4 returning starters on defense. Their defensive line and linebacking position, I just don't think is very good here. Both quarterbacks are exciting. Drake May, probably going to be a top 2-3 pick in the draft when he comes out. Spencer Rattler came over from Oklahoma, can get hot also. But as hot as both get, Drake May has 2 advantages here over Spencer Rattler. He ran for 698 yards. Rattler ran for 46. 7 touchdowns on the ground, and he only threw 7 interceptions, where Rattler threw 12. So Rattler will throw into coverage a little bit more than May here. Don't know about the North Carolina receivers. They're going to be young there, but I think it's easier to find receivers than it is to find guys on the line to compete here. So I think May's going to make a lot of guys look good. And like I said, he can run when he has to here. And South Carolina won the last time they played in the Mayo Bowl, 2021, 38-21. I think North Carolina is the right side here, 34-23.
All right, Lee, and another year for Paramount Sports. You guys see the number at the bottom of the screen, 1-800-400-9741. You can go to ParamountSports.com to sign up for Lee's services. You call the number. Lee's very likely to often answer the phone himself and chat it up with you a little bit. Lee, real quick before we go, tell us what you got going on for the fans of Paramount Sports here in the opening week of football. Okay,
so my phone services, you call once a day, hear every single game on a tape. We rate the games from 10 to 50 units. These are the games that I'm personally playing. You see every single game I've given my clients for the last 5 years, going to recent results on the homepage there. So we don't give out one side to one person, one to the other. I use my real name. I'm a former college quarterback, and my 30th year in business. So starting our 30th year. So it's been a great ride. Only had one losing season in the 29 years so far. We've gotten off to a great start. We won both games week 0. And we might start slow, a little slower this year. Might give out maybe 5-6 games combined Saturday and Sunday, and just watch and be able to take notes and then look for some spots and come out strong week 2. You want to get involved for the season, use coupon code SAVE300, $11.97 for the entire season. Or if you want to try us for 5 weeks through Monday, October 2nd, just $397. Use coupon code SAVE100, ParamountSports.com.
There you go. Save 100, your ticket to save money and make money with Lee. How about that? You get to do both at the same time. You get to save some money and then you get to make some money.
Everyone, hey, my wife's always telling me she got everything on sale. So if something's on sale, and hopefully make you money. So won't cost you money like going to the store.
All right, Lee. Well, we look forward to these shows all season long. It's going to be a really interesting Miami Hurricane season. But Lee predicts the Canes might start a little slow on opening night. Probably not what everybody wants to hear, but he does think that Miami comes home with a victory. So that will at least make everybody happy in the end. Not if you bet the Canes, but that's your choice here moving forward. So that's going to do it for today. For Lee Sterling, I'm Gary Ferman. Thank you for joining us, everybody. We will see you next time.